Good afternoon, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for staying with us this far. Definitely, I'm sure you're excited about the session so far. The sessions have been quite engaging, and we've really heard from great experts. And I'm really glad that that you are still with us, and hopefully this will be another exciting and insightful session. And yeah, so let us know where you're dialing in from in this third session, which is we'll be speaking about youth and the digital agriculture economy, and we'll be mainly spotlighting some of the youth-led agri-tech ventures that are transforming agriculture in various forms. And so we'll be hearing more from some of the digital innovations that are transforming agriculture, and we're going to get insights around existing business models, how these innovators are actually creating breakthrough technologies, as well as getting to hear and learn from some of their leadership journey. I hope that this will inspire some of you leaders who are joining us for this cohort 4 leadership forum. And mainly what the speakers will do is they're going to unpack 4 key elements. The first thing would be engaging them to just understand what has enabled their success, playing, being digital innovators within this space, as well as looking at some of the challenges they faced in scaling some of their digital solutions, and then looking at some of them, how they've navigated some of the challenges within the ecosystem. And then lastly, hopefully that they will get to inspire you, inform you on how you can actually take your innovation, or actually implement some of the learnings we learned from here today. But to kick us off, mainly, I want us to do a very quick exercise, and there's this thing we call a digital hack and work. I don't know how many of you have had it, but mainly we just want to find out, we'll be exploring 2 digital innovations that have been explored around Africa, and we are doing just a small exercise. So I want you in chat, we'll be reviewing 2 digital innovations. So in chat, you can say if it's a hack or it's a work. What does a hack and work mean? So a hack means that it's solving a real problem. It's addressing some of the African, it's not really relevant within the African context, and it's not really solving a problem that, to address, or rather scale the agricultural sector. But yeah, so we have 2 cases. So the first option is an NGO who is providing agriculture extension officers with tablets preloaded with videos and training to improve their farmer extension services. So let's hear in the chat, is this a digital hack or is it a digital work? Is it solving a problem for most African farmers? And the next option is the next option is an innovation that is looking at connecting smallholder farmers, with tractors owners through a mobile app that is allowing farmers to actually rent these tractors to actually farm during different seasons. So let us know in chat which of this is a hack or a work. Is it the first option? Is it the second option? Which of African problems, and addressing them to the root cause. So happy to hear from you. Type in the chat. Is it option 1? Is it option 2? Which of this is a work and a hack? And I will be reading some of the insights in the chat. And let us know why you're thinking it of a hack, or why you're thinking of it as a hack. Yeah, so happy to hear. I don't know if you have any streaming comments before I invite my very able presenters. Option 1, where an NGO is providing tablets through agricultural extension. Is that solving? Is that a realistic innovation for agricultural extension officers? Will it yield the impact that we're looking for? And then the next one is digital innovation that is connecting farmers. So let us know in the chat. Even as we are receiving some of these things, I want to take this opportunity, the insights from both from the panelists. I want to now invite my panelists who will be taking us through this session around youth and the digital agriculture economies. And to start us off, we have Francis Obikorang, and he's the CEO and co-founder of AgroCenter. And it's very good. Thank you so much for joining us from Ghana. So Francis, I'm going to give you an opportunity just to introduce yourself, to introduce your innovation and how it's actually solving, what problem is it solving? So go ahead, Francis, and let us hear from you.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon to everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. So my name is Francis Obikorang. I'm the co-founder and CEO of AgroCenter. So AgroCenter, we are based in Ghana. We are an agri-tech company. We started off in 2016, first off as a digital marketplace. The company has evolved over time. Currently, we focus on financial services for smaller farmers. So some of the key challenges the farmers face in their daily activities is the farmers don't get access to credit. If you look at the African ecosystem, less than 3% of farmers get access to credit from financial institutions. And the reason being, a lot of farming activities are in the informal sector and they are undocumented. So when these farmers approach the banks and say, I need a loan to be able to buy inputs, the banks will say, I want to see, let's say, 3, 4, 5 months of your transactional activities. I want to see some average income. I want to see some document. And most farmers don't have that. So what we do is we work with farmers all year round. We pick a lot of critical data on these smaller farmers, and then we model it into some form of credit score of which the banks now can leverage on this data to be able to extend financial services to farmers. So currently we work with financial institutions, development partners, impact lenders, to be able to accelerate 4 key financial services to smaller farmers. We do micro lending, mainly for input financing. We do digital payments, we do savings, and then pensions for smaller farmers. So that is more of a 360 view of how AgroCenter is using digital tools and technologies to be able to accelerate financial inclusion for rural smaller farmers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Francis. Great innovation, great insight. Definitely a hack, a digital hack, solving real African problems. And thank you for that intro. And we'll be hearing more from Francis. To take us, we go now to the ladies, and we'll be hearing from Chiamaka Nduku, who is the founder and director of AgroHive and a proud Kala alumni. She founded AgroHive in 2016, as the first digital human resource workforce management company for agriculture. Great stuff, Chiamaka. Let us know about your passion, what you do, and why this is a very important topic for you.
Thank you so much, Gladys. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining from. My name is Chiamaka Nduku, and I am a program manager and workforce development professional. I am very interested in research and work that is involved in developing solutions for upskilling agricultural graduates in Africa so that they can have easy access to quality and sustainable jobs. So like Gladys mentioned earlier, I founded AgroHive in 2016 as an undergraduate in Nigeria when I realized that a lot of agricultural graduates were really graduating and not getting access to quality jobs. And even when they get access to jobs, when they are employed, employers struggle with the fact that a lot of agricultural graduates do not have the employability skills that are needed to even do the right work or perform optimally at the workplace. And this means that oftentimes they either get fired or they are underpaid, leading to underemployment. So when I discovered this, I formed the team back in 2016 to see how we can collaboratively help agricultural graduates upskill and then connect them to hiring employers in the African continent. In 2019, we sort of launched our digital platform. That was when we transformed to an agri-tech startup where we have online courses and we have a digital hiring platform that allows talents to not just take trainings, but also assess opportunities on the digital platform. And so far, we've been able to create impact in Nigeria, Liberia, Uganda. And currently, I'm currently conducting research and evaluating some of the previous works that we've been doing in AgroHive in collaboration with the University of Florida. And I'm also working with other experts to see how we are not just doing this work, we're also using the data from the work we've been doing over the years to help policymakers and higher education institutions to improve the curriculum and also create spaces where agricultural graduates can be better upskilled with the right competencies and find the right employment opportunities. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Chiamaka, and I'm very glad that you're using research to inform your innovation and to just continue solving African problems with your technology. And we are now going to move to Eliud Rugut, who is the founder, Silo Africa, and mainly Silo Africa advocates for increased access to land and reduction of post-harvest losses. And happy to really get more insight around your innovation and let us know how it's solving African problems.
Hello everyone. Good evening, good morning. I'm speaking from Nairobi, Kenya.
Hi.
And yes, so my name is Eliud Rugut, and I'm the founder of Silo Africa, where we are dealing with the post-harvest losses issue, starting with the grains in the grains value chain. I grew up in a farming community, and we used to farm a lot. But over the years, especially with the whole issue of climate change, our production really dwindled over the years. And it wasn't just us, also even the farmers in my own community. And one critical thing that after analyzing very well is every year we continued to be told to increase production, and we leverage a number of tools, climate smart tools. But at the end of the harvesting period, we had a lot of losses, and it would go even up to 40–50% as a result of poor storage. Some of the farmers would use granaries. I was using sacks back in the village. Even my parents were using sacks. Others were using plastic drums. Some farmers had even adopted the hermetic storage bags, but it wasn't enough. There was still some huge challenge in it. And I saw that if we continue, and remember also the inputs are continuing to increase in prices. So at the end of the day, the margins for the farmers continue to dwindle and dwindle. And so what do you do when there's a leaking tap? Do you continue scooping more water and increasing the trips, or do you close the tap? And so that is what resulted in forming Silo Africa. So we decided to deal with the losses itself. And now we are fabricating silos. These are metallic silos that farmers are able to use to store their grains. And we are also incorporating IoT technology to track the grain conditions. Right.
Very, very exciting. Thank you so much, Eliud, and we'll be learning more about your technology and all the way from Ghana with Wamigro Limited, and what they're mainly focusing on is improving the livelihood of farmers, addressing some of the key barriers related to access to credit markets as well as climate farming practices. In brief, Caleb, let us know if your innovation is a digital hack and how it's actually solving some of the problems most smallholder farmers are going through, in brief.
Right, thank you. Good day, everyone. I'm speaking from Accra, Ghana, where our office is based. So what we do is to partner with smallholder farmers to produce wholesome ingredients. So we leverage access to financial services to actually incentivize the farmers to adopt good practices. We understand that whoever is offering or supporting in terms of resources has more influence on the farmers. And so we use a digital platform that allows us to provide input finance to farmers, but that is just in order to allow us to incentivize these farmers to adopt the climate smart agricultural practices. So what we've been able to do over the years is to start off with soil testing precision farming advisory service to farmers, because most farmers have been using, in Ghana, for instance, have been using their lands for decades and have not been able to improve the quality of their soils, which leads to low yields. So what we've done with most farmers, that the first step is to start from the soil, provide the advisory for them to adopt the climate smart agricultural practices. We actually go ahead to have demo fields while leveraging our digital platform to connect them to ready markets. And we found it to be working. Over the last few years, we've been able to impact over 15,000 farmers. We've been able to connect them to over 20,000 tons worth of trade or business, and we've been able to pay out over $1 million of payments to farmers and their households. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's what WAMI Agro is about.
Thank you so much for sharing those statistics, and definitely you're solving a real pain point for most smallholder farmers. But to contextualize this further, I want to go to you, Francis, and you've talked about the footprint of AgroCenter being in 9 regions and also targeting quite a large number of smallholder farmers. Is this a problem that is you've seen based on your experience, or the number of years you've been in business? What inspired you for this solution? Was it a personal challenge you encountered? Did you see the market size? What really inspired you to come up with these solutions, and looking at how big of a problem is this across Africa, just even beyond where you operate?
Right. Thank you very much, Gladys. So I think I wish I knew the market size before I started. I think I wish I knew a lot of information even before I jumped in. And I think that is not, as an entrepreneur, you don't get to get all this information. And I'm sure my other colleagues will share similar sentiments. So I think, yes, from my experience, I think from my background, I think after graduating from school, I worked in some software development companies. So some of the companies I worked in gave me exposure to work with smallholder farmers. And it was a lot of field activities that allowed me to see what some of the pain points were for the smallholder farmers. So initially, I think when we started, we were focused more on supply chain enhancement. We were looking at how do we facilitate access to markets for smallholder farmers, mainly based on some of the interactions. But I think after running the business for about 7-8 years, we've seen a lot of input from smallholder farmers that tends to point that access to market is a challenge, but then access to financial services is a much bigger challenge, because there's productivity ties directly to how much money a farmer can get to be able to invest. So if you take, for example, some of the farmers we work with, you find that averagely a farmer will be doing anything between 1 to 5 acres of cultivation. And what happens is, if the farmer does, let's say, 2 acres of cultivation this year, next year they are still going to do 2 acres because they don't have money to reinvest in their farm. So you don't see productivity going up, you don't see yield improvement increasing. And this challenge is not only in Ghana. So yes, we have exposure in Ghana. We've done some operations in Burkina Faso. It's a quite similar challenge. And I think it's the same challenge across Sub-Saharan Africa, where access to credit remains a very critical pain point for smallholder farmers. So what really inspired me to be able to start AgroCenter was, one, I always say farmers are the people who feed everybody. I'm sure everybody on this call in the morning has had something to eat, even something to drink, and everything comes from agriculture. But these are people who live their lives in perpetual poverty. These are people who we call them bottom of the pyramid people. These are people who live under $1 a day. How can people be feeding the continent? We go to all the fancy restaurants. Every food comes from the soil, but these are people who are not rich. And one of the key things to be able to alleviate poverty for them is to be able to use digital tools and services to be able to create impact for them. So even though we are a profit company, what we really track is how this solution is creating impact in the lives of smallholder farmers. At the end of the day, food security is one of the key things we aim for. And once everybody's, there's a saying that once there's food available, you find out that conflict is less, because everybody has something to eat. So I think that's one of the key things that actually motivated me to start AgroCenter.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that story. I'm hoping somebody is inspired today with some of the challenges, the pain points that drove a digital innovation that is actually saving farmers. Yes, so I want to go to Eliud and looking at the comments regarding the question we had asked earlier. Which one is a digital hack? Which one is a digital work? We are seeing one of the barriers or one of the challenges for smallholder farmers is issues such as capacity, issues such as access. And I think that's how most of the delegates are making this informed decision. This is a work and a hack. But also just to hear from you, when you think about accessibility or even capacity challenges or barriers, that most smallholder farmers face, especially when accessing these technologies. What was your experience, as Silo Africa, and how did you actually take it from an idea to actually execution? And what were some of the biggest early barriers for you to actually design a solution that is a hack, a digital hack, and solving the problems most smallholder farmers are facing?
Thank you very much. From my experience, as I mentioned earlier, I came from a farming background. So I was brought up in that. I knew the challenges. I lived it. And one of the biggest challenges that I see with innovators currently is we continue to innovate without including the farmers themselves. So you have to co-create with these farmers, and you can't do capacity building if you're not involved in the farm itself, because you have to understand the problems firsthand. And we have to look at it. You also have to look at it from a different angle. The farmers, for example, in one region, in my region, which is a grain producing region, could be a bit unique to other regions that are doing probably coffee. Yes, we are doing storage, and over the years, the past few years, we've been co-creating this with our farmers themselves. Because first thing, at some point when we started, we took a solution. We took the silos to these farmers, but over time now we got a bit of different feedback from them. Because you find one farmer during training, they listen to our technicians were saying during the training itself on how to use these smart silos, but others were not keen enough. So you find we found that in one silo everything was okay, but in a different silo probably the moisture wasn't okay, simply because the farmer did not dry the grains to the required moisture. And so that is what triggered us now. How do we now track this? Because farmers come from different backgrounds. Others have gone to school, others haven't gone to school, others have had access to technology, others haven't been exposed much. And so when we brought it now, the Internet of Things, the IoT devices, we're able to pull data from these silos, and we would get the metrics way early enough. And now we'll be able to inform the farmers, one through maybe a push notification or through an SMS. And you tell the farmer, yes, your grains, your maize in the silo does not look good. The moisture is above 15%. In the next 2 weeks, this will lead to aflatoxin poisoning. So please remove your grains and go dry it. And if you don't have a dryer, we can send a technician, one of our young entrepreneurs, with a mobile dryer to dry the grains for you to the required moisture and put it. So over time, it was a learning curve for us. But now we had to co-create with the farmers themselves. And accelerate. How another question mentioned is on how do we accelerate? I can say you can't accelerate if you haven't provided the solution firsthand. And number two, you can only leverage technology when it comes to scaling. We have these, I think we can put it as a peculiar habit for African entrepreneurs. We want to up everything. There's a small solution, probably someone lacks diapers, you want to up that. You want to up everything. But go back to the drawing board. Go back to the consumer, the customer himself. Be in their shoes. If you haven't done the farming itself, do the farming itself. If it's capsicum, know the challenges of having capsicum. If it's grains, go do it yourself. And then from that, you can be able to learn and also work with the farmers so that when you're co-creating, you're building a solution that is sustainable, not just now, but also for the future. Because we have 1.5 billion people in Africa that we need to feed. And the young people, you guys who've gone to school, not probably done a lot of farming, but they're dependent on you to farm. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Eliud. Definitely, you're talking about co-creation, engaging farmers, what people would call human-centered design in putting the users at the center of innovation. Very great insights. And even Chiamaka, as we reflect on all this, putting farmers at the center of innovations. And I know you're a proud Kala alumni. And I just want to delve deep into beyond working with the farmers, looking at networks such as Kala, or looking even at some of the partners you've mentioned working with them, university in carrying out your research, including other mentors or even other professions that have come in, to support you even with your venture. What has worked? What didn't? How was that journey, and what role did these networks, these partners, these institutions play in seeing your innovation come to light or even further developing it? You can provide practical examples.
Thank you, Gladys. Yes, so I would like to start off with the very basic and the foundational support I got, which was mentorship. When I started off a year, just like Franz says, he was like, I wish I knew the market size. But for me, I would say I wish I knew a lot of things I need to know about starting a business, building a business model canvas, and mentorship was something that did it for me. And the amazing thing is that my mentor, who is also a Kala alumni, Dr. Apeo Mede, was actually the one that held me by the hand. And I can tell you by far that there was a difference between the first year of trying to get into the market, reach out to rural farmers, reach out to rural youths, and from the moment he started mentoring me, I was able to understand how to niche down to a solution that really works for the target audience. I was able to understand how to do the legal registrations for my business, because that is really important. While we talk about impact, we also need to also be structured as businesses, right? I think mentorship was something that did that for me. And it was like the mini MBA that I didn't have to pay for, basically, which is important, especially if you're a young agricultural tech business founder. Mentorship is something that is very critical. And when we talk about accelerators, with mentorship, you can begin to assess opportunities and see where you can get further support. For me, as joining acceleration programs has been very, very, very critical to the growth of AgroHive. And I could tell you for certain that one of the biggest blessings of being part of an accelerator program for AgroHive was really the visibility that comes from it, the training, the targeted training that you get from specific accelerators like Kala, the network, the community, the support system you get, and also resources. When we joined our first acceleration program by FCMB in Nigeria back in 2019. One of the beautiful resources I got then as a youth was a free co-working space. And I didn't have to pay for it. That took out some financial burdens from me. And also, when it comes to going global or going even scaling across the continent, I think the Kala training as a leader also prepared me to understand how to deal with situations or challenges that might come with interacting with partners and stakeholders from other countries. And then when we look at critical aspects of building a business, like having money, I think funding also plays a critical role in helping, especially for young people who don't have any loan or any startup funding from anywhere. When you get that first grant as a young person, it really helps you kickstart your business. For us, it helped us like launch our digital platform. It helped with getting interns, paid interns that can do some of the work that we needed to do, and also some logistical aspects of our businesses. These were like some of the critical importance of having that acceleration, mentorship, and also the funding that really helped AgroHive grow.
Thank you so much, Chiamaka. That is so insightful. That is so inspiring. And let us hear, in the chat, how has mentorship, who are some of the people who've helped you scale? What are some of the institution or some of the programs that even other delegates can tap into beyond CALA to even just scale or even access some of this expertise? And so please feel free to share in the chat and also just keep your questions coming. And even as we do this, Chiamaka has spoken about the great role of different stakeholders. And Caleb, I want you to, and also still as a proud CALA alumni, talking about success, you've advanced, your technology has really advanced. I've heard you mention some exciting numbers, but, just maybe speak to us about how your growth has been, all the way from increasing your revenue to getting new users. What was that definitive moment of success? And you can explain to us practically how that has actually impacted the people you serve or the people that use your technology, but also as a business, but as an individual.
Right. Thank you. I mean, I believe in the adage that says it takes a village to achieve success. And especially in agriculture, it takes so much collaboration because it's a multifaceted sector. I mean, right from planting to harvest to trade, it's a mix of various disciplines, starting from science, a part of it is business, a part of it is sociology, a part of it is all manner of things. And I might say that our driving force or inspiration had come from the many collaborations we've had. We will not claim to have done this alone. I think I work with a team that is hardworking. I work with also across institutions that have provided us support. A good example is the support we got through AGRA when I participated in the program, CALA. It was good support. We've been on a number of accelerators that have also shaped our business model. But I think constantly we've been in touch with our vision that is trying to partnering with the farmers to actually improve their quality of lives through the food systems that we are working to transform. So for us, our journey the last 5 years, we were born in the year of COVID, and that was when we founded the company. And that should just give you an indication of the preparedness to be resilient already in an atmosphere that was not so conducive, but my co-founder and I came together in the midst of all of that, and we thought most of the most vulnerable people at the time who were the farmers, and that has continuously inspired us to go on a trajectory that improves the quality of their lives by affecting their productivity. So I think we've kept our eye on that ball. There have been very rough times, and we've had to tweak our model or pivot our model every now and then, but we've still kept the goal intact, but we've had to change our plans or change the model we're operating every now and then just to make it resilient. But the goal of transforming food systems, leveraging digital tools, expanding access to credit, granting them, providing guaranteed profitable markets has been at the heart of everything that we do. So, I mean, it's just been keeping that integrity, not greenwashing, which we see a lot of companies in our space doing, throwing around data that they cannot validate. we've kept a small number data sets that we can validate. We've been true to the data. It's enabled our collaborators or partners have confidence in us that whatever data we provide is actually legitimate, verifiable, real. They may be numbers, but they are real lives, they are real human beings, and every cost on our balance sheet is actually real money going to real people, improving real lives, turning around real challenges. And so that is what has kept us going, being big on partnerships, staying true to the goals, being honest or being sincere with our data and communication, and being malleable to be resilient. And definitely this is just the beginning. We are poised for to scale even beyond Ghana and West Africa, and we're always inspiring other young people to take the path that we have taken. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb. Like success, like if success means what you have said, definitely you're poised for growth, poised for scale, and we're really excited to have you sharing your inspiration. And some of the comments that are coming in, for instance, here there's a question from Chikondi around, the issue around reach. We've heard from Eliud speak about how do we design with the farmers. We've heard from Chiamaka talking about, as well as Caleb talking about the essence of collaboration, relying on your team, validating your data. And I want maybe to pose this to Francis, addressing this question from Chikondi, who is saying, how do we actually reach out to small farmers to ensure that these solutions, that they're able to actually access some of these solutions at low or no cost, considering that, the challenges or some of the barriers around access to either internet services or even some of these digital assets such as mobile phones or even smartphones. But yeah, Francis, maybe you can tell us an example. How are your farmers accessing your services, cognizant of these barriers?
Right. Thank you very much. So I think, yes, that's a very good question. And that is something that especially if you are working in the agricultural sector, that's one key thing that always comes up, reach and usage. You find out that a lot of smallholder farmers across Africa have very little educational background. These are people in the rural communities who some can barely read, can barely write, can use, so even the use of smartphones, etc., are quite non-existent in those areas. For us, when we were building our digital solutions, the first thing we did was, within every farmer cooperative or every location that you work, you find very young people in there. These are mostly people between the ages of 18 to 35 years. These are people who have some form of educational background, either high school or have some diploma, whatever it is. And these are people who also have some form of interest in agricultural activities. They have smartphones. Some of them you find them on WhatsApp, TikTok. These young people are there. So what we do is we train these young people as agricultural agents, what we call the field agents, and they use our technology to interface the smallholder farmers. So within every community, we can say we have about 5 young people who are responsible for, let's say, doing farmer onboarding, training the farmers on quality control standards, originating financial loan requests, etc. And these are part of the cooperative. Not every young person will be interested in primary production, as they make it seem. They might be interested in the other value chains. Because if you take it, for example, some of them are interested in even providing logistics services. Some of them are even interested in providing labor services, etc. So once these young people are in there, they are able to use the technology on behalf of the smallholder farmer to do farmer onboarding, etc. Another approach is to also be very clear that you have to really dumb down your technology to very simple usage, sometimes either a USSD, SMS, or voice service. So what we do a lot is, a lot of trainings that we carry out for smallholder farmers, we use voice messaging systems in local languages, not even in English, in local languages. So on our platform, we're able to tell the primary local language every smallholder farmer speak. We send them content on voice services such as weather updates. Today is going to rain, tomorrow it might not rain, so that they can plan. We send them market price information. The bag of maize in your community is X price. We send them even tips on good agricultural practices, how to plant, when to plant. So pre and post harvest management, all in local languages. And we simulate it just like how you receive a very simple call on your phone. The call comes, the farmer picks, and then they listen to a 60-second pre-recorded message in their local languages. You don't need a lot of tech-heavy driven approach. Meanwhile, at the back end where we have a lot of where the financial institutions use, that is more tech heavy. So I think that's one. And then also in terms of usage, you don't begin a solution targeting smaller farmers to pay for it. And I've seen this come up a lot where people say we are building solution for smaller farmers. The farmer is going to pay about $1 to use my service. No, they are not going to pay. Your customers, your paying customers are not the farmers. Your users are the farmers. Your paying customers are the off-takers, the financial institutions, the big guys who have money to be able to use the services on behalf of your smaller farmers. So that is more of how I see this. One, dumb down the technology to a certain point. Even in some of the areas we work, we've had to use radio stations to be able to transmit messages to them because they had no form of mobile connection. So radios work in those communities. So you have to always, one, understand how the field works. Two, know your target demography, what kind of services. So I always hear people say we're building AI for farmers, etc. And in most cases, I laugh because you've not gone to the field to do your assessment well. AI is good, but we've not gotten to the stage where smaller farmers can use AI to assess anything. You get it? So build a very simple building blocks, and then you take it from there. So I think that's more of what I have to say on this topic.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Simplicity, dealing with the literacy levels, looking at access to some of this digital asset. Definitely, simplicity is key, and using the big words such as AI. Definitely, there's need for us breaking the ceiling before we get in there. And I want this to move this to Eliud. Creating that enabling environment is very key because if you look even at different governments, and there's also a question here, there's a comment here that has been put by one of the delegates who is speaking about the role of policy, the policy dynamics, strengthening the digital infrastructure is very key. And we have one question here from also Chikondi who's asking, how do different youth-led innovators, work with existing systems, like government or even frontline teams? For instance, when you talked about how Silo Africa is working with extension officers or engaging with farmers, how do these youth-led innovators work closely and ensure buy-in of government institution or extension officers for you to reach the last mile to ensure access of your
Thank you very much, Gladys. It's very key and it's very important for young innovators to work with the government because we are living in a digital age, the age of AI, blockchain, Internet of Things, and whatnot. And all these, there is some policy guidelines that are existing, and also you find some countries have also not they don't have policies in this area. And working with them, I can say it's more of a collaborative approach, not just in terms of being compliant to the policies, but also influencing the policy itself. Right now, we have drone technology in the ag space, doing the spraying and the spreading of fertilizer. And with this, you find many countries, they don't have a drone policy. Yet it's affected also, it's in the aerospace industry. So young innovators should work with government because we're able to catalyze the environment in which we are going to operate and do it not just in an efficient way, but do it quickly, because speed is a very critical thing when it comes to business. You want to scale, and you can only scale using technology. How can you do this? How is this possible? I can say another thing also is the government should also put in favorable policies that one, for example, when it comes to these young innovators, they need to build traction for their businesses. They've tested the models, it is fine. They've gotten partners like us, we've gotten partners like HEFA, MIT Solve, and whatnot. But scaling our businesses, it will require partnerships. And one thing I can say is the government can be their first point of contact in terms of creating a favorable supply chain policy where they can place their first orders from these innovators so that you're able to get traction from this. And that is the only way you can get innovators to plug in. I can give an example like what AGRA is doing with the young innovators, involving them in their supply chains, programs like the Regain that is tackling the post-harvest loss. That is something like even as a Silo Africa, when we plug in into that ecosystem, fabricate these silos using our young artisans, you can be able to reach not just Kenya, but move to all the country programs that these programs are looking at. And I can say, if there's a collaborative approach between the actors, the young innovators who've proven these models, and the actors who are the government, the multilateral institutions, the financial institutions who are going to plug in to provide the necessary affordable and tailor-made financing for these smallholder farmers. Collaboratively, we are able to come up with policies that are favorable. And at the end of the day, it will be fair in the whole value chain. One, for the farmers. Number two, for the young innovators. Number three, for the business people in the value chain, and also the policy and the government institution.
Yeah, agree, Eliud. Like, how do we use our influence, to promote good policies? And thank you for that, call to action. How do we influence these policies that can actually create or accelerate these innovations at the local level? Yes. So there's a great comment here by Emily Osena who said, who was commenting on Chiamaka, said, you practice it, you learn more, you improve day by day. It's always a journey. Those are very insightful comments. Thank you so much for those comments. But also to build on that, Chiamaka, there's one question here from Jean-Marc, and what they're asking is, what is that support system, that is very critical, for an agri-tech idea to be successful, to be, for it to be scaled, or even, for it to advance. What is that support system that is needed? And it can be, they've given an example here of policy, finance, mentorship, but yeah, just provide more insights from your experience beyond what you discussed earlier.
Yeah, thank you so much. So to answer that question, I think it's not just one thing. Everything that has been mentioned, having the right regulatory frameworks for your solution to thrive is important. Having the right network, the right community that you can lean into when you need support for, to either have access to resources or even solve some digital issues, because we also have issues with moving our services across borders, right? Just having that network, that community is very critical. And then for me, mentorship is everything. Mentorship is very, very critical. And mentorship doesn't necessarily have to be a one-on-one mentorship, right? It could be like joining a program that provides you access to mentors who are already experienced in that field that one wants to build in on. I think these are very critical. And then for scaling, let's not lie, funding is like the fuel that gets you moving, especially if you're doing something that is impact driven and the revenue model is not so solid. I think finding ways to get the right funding is very critical, because you may have all the ideas, you may have all the partners, you may have all the ideas and the team to move things forward. But without funding, it might be a very big challenge to go from point A, that's the idea stage, to the execution and implementation stage. So I think it's very critical to have mentorship, to have funding, to have a community that one can lean in as a founder. Thank you.
thank you so much. Definitely, Chiamaka, and just building onto that, we are talking about putting in place ecosystems, putting in place the right policy, promoting access, and I'm going to pose this question to all the delegates or all the panelists here. If you had a minute with a policymaker, a funder, what is one thing that you would ask them to change? Yeah, and Eliud, I'll ask you because there's a lot of you've made a lot of advancements, but you've talked about also some of the challenges that exist within a system. So if you were, Chiamaka has talked about funding being the fuel. So if you had a minute with a policymaker or even a large funder, what is one thing you'd make them change so that they can actually scale ventures like yours?
Thank you very much. I can say one thing is to shift their mental space from terming agriculture as a risky business, yet every day we are eating. This is something that is, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. So there's data to prove that it's a very innovative venture. So I would ask them to do one thing, provide us with patient capital, the same way the harvesting cycles are coming. We need, innovators need patient capital that is affordable, probably single digits, but is patient enough for us to build, because it takes time to build, to sort out the logistics issues, supply chain, training, all that. It takes patience. And Rome was not built in one day, likewise to Silicon Valley. And that's why I'm saying the Silicon of Africa should be built patiently, and we need patient capital. Thank you.
Thank you. Over to you, Eliud. Sorry, not Eliud, Caleb. Caleb Edwards, over to you. Tell us, what is one thing change if you were in a lift with this policymaker? And let us know some of the experiences in Ghana as well. And let us know who you're addressing. Are you addressing a policymaker, an investor, a Kala? What is one thing that we'd want?
I think we should think of farmers as rational economic agents. I think we've, for a long time, looked at them as people who need charity. And so we've not been able to make business out of farming or agriculture in Ghana. So I'll say to policy people, let's focus on the market. Let's ensure that we are able to feed ourselves. Let's ensure that we do not become a dumping site for other economies that are incentivizing their farmers to produce more than they can consume, and then they dump the rest on us in Africa or in Ghana. And it's a big blow, because the moment the market is unstable, financial partners do not want to commit to invest in such markets because it's too erratic, because it's volatile, and that has been our biggest challenge as a company. But by beginning of the year, when you develop your budget, expecting your price points against your cost points, by the third month, everything is thrown off because of the external factors that you cannot control. And so policy people should focus on building stable environments, and then we'll see investors coming in to do the heavy lifting of financing, whether it's the banks or DFIs. They are happy to help anytime it's a stable economic environment. And farmers themselves are happy to take on more productivity or take on more risk when things are more stable. And then we'll see we'll see agriculture growing, because all the factors will be playing out well. But as it stands, it's quite erratic, and nobody would want to finance that kind of environment. So yeah, that would be my quick elevator pitch to policymakers. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And then Francis, even before we put you in a lift with a policymaker, there's this comment here from Amabel that he's saying, great work, Francis, it's time for Africa to evaluate the education system. I just want you to comment on, how we can actually use the education system to reshape mindsets, and if we were to do a call to action also, around how we can reshape our mindset to really address some of these problems, and what.
Yep. I think I lost you briefly at the end, but it was more on the policy on education, if I'm right. Yes. So if you look at it, I'll use Ghana as an example. When we were growing up, anytime you go to school and then you do something bad, what the teachers will tell you is that go and weed. So as we've been growing up, we've seen agriculture as a punishment instead of as something that is actually. So we send people to the school farm only when they do something bad in school. So they have to go and do a lot of manual labor activities there. I think our educational sector, every time we talk about STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, but I don't see agriculture playing out. We talk about robotics, we talk about AI, we talk about all those are good. But if you look at Africa, for example, we need to build the building blocks first. And there's a reason why about 95% of our land is agrarian. We can plant anywhere. I always say from the north to the south of the country, anytime you put a seed in the ground, it's going to grow. We have very stable climate across all year. We have rivers, water bodies that we can do irrigation. There's a reason why we find ourselves in this part of the continent. So definitely our agriculture should be embedded more in our education, not just as a subset. What we see is a lot of subset. We focus more on the other, which is also good, but we should have a lot of effort and commitment where the young people want to go into an agriculture, not because anytime we see flyers, billboards, we see a lot of NGOs doing farmer-based activities. It's always a poor farmer in a tattered t-shirts. They take photos and then they use for all their impact stories, etc. That tends to drive away a lot of young people. Agriculture goes beyond that. Yes, even though there are smallholder farmers, once we begin to put a lot of calculated effort into the educational sector, we find a lot of young people coming in who will change it. If you look at the current demographics of smallholder farmers in Ghana, the average age is around 45%. Give or take, in the next 15 years, they'll be 60 years and above, and they would not. So who's going to fill that gap if we still always we mount podiums and say, let's make agriculture sexy? How do we make agriculture sexy if we don't have the curriculum to be able to drive this? We talk about technical education is mostly, but we don't see a lot of agri-focused education where we bring along young people to bring innovation. We've gone beyond the issues of cutlass and hoes, etc., to where now a lot of real impacts are driven by innovation, where these young people can come in and then provide service. So I think that's more of what I have to say to the policy people. Make agriculture educational intentional, not just a byproduct.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, definitely. I hope there are decision makers in the room, delegates in the room who can push this agenda within their governments, within their education systems to really create this great change that you're speaking about. So we have 2 minutes to the hour. So Chiamaka, we've put you in a lift with this funder, with this investor. What is one thing you'd want them to change, or even a policymaker, to really see digital innovations work for farmers, work for young people in Africa?
Yeah, thank you so much. So if you put me in a lift with a policymaker, I would want to have a conversation about collaborating with innovators, because some of the solutions that we're all working on is actually something that sometimes should be the agenda of the government, but I feel like oftentimes there is this disconnect between policymakers, the government, and then the innovators, especially young innovators that are really doing real work. So I would advocate that there is strong collaboration between the government and, like an involvement, a holistic involvement in the solutions and the projects that are being implemented by these innovators. That would help us move sustainable agriculture more forward.
Thank you very much. And I hope as leaders we've been able to gather something. If you're among the delegates, you're a policymaker, each of us as leaders, we have an opportunity to actually influence these innovations within our context. This has been a very insightful panel. Thank you so much. The 4 panelists who've joined us today, we've been able to really hear from them what their ventures are solving and how they're actually transforming agriculture across Africa. And we hope that you've been inspired. We hope you've understood on how to deal with some of the barriers of scaling your solutions, but also ensuring reach of your digital innovation solutions. And so we invite you for the next session. The next session will be delving more into the barriers of access, and we invite you to join us within the next few minutes. So stay tuned, and we'll be delving deep into hearing more of these digital innovations and how they are solving problems for Africans. And definitely these innovations are by Africans. So very excited to have you delegates join us through the remaining sessions. So over to you, and please feel free to continue engaging, providing your chats, asking your questions. And thank you so much, panelists, for joining us in this session. Until the next session, have a good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever it is you're dialing in from. Thank you very much.